Dark Sean presents Should refugees be given aid instead of being allowed into countries that probably are being overpopulated with refugees right now? Well, what do you think? Now, why am I even making this video anyway? Well, refugees have been like more of a occurrence nowadays, and the thing about refugees is that it's not just war, it's also persecution and sometimes targets for specific people, which I guess is a relation to persecution that just drives them away from their homes, countries. Also, those are just some of the main reasons. It's not the only ones, and if you can think of some, please write them down in the comments below. However, I'm talking about refugees right now because, like, recent times, I'm talking about like Russia and Ukraine, the Russian-Ukrainian, the Sino-Ukrainian wars that's been happening right now, and well, it's not going too good in Ukraine's favor, I guess, because it's smaller and it has turns out more refugees. Its refugees are in the crossfire, and we have no idea how this conflict is going to end. It looks kind of bleak, and I don't really see an end to this. And if we end this peace right now, I'm not sure how to deal with it. But for now, let's just talk about refugees. And as the topic mentioned, should refugees be given aid instead of being allowed in? Let's start with a little backstory. Now, I already mentioned the refugees currently coming right now, so now I'll tell you about some words that people keep, well, misusing. At least in the term of terms. So let's start first with the actual word, a refugee. Now, what is a refugee? A refugee is a person who is fleeing the country because of persecution, conflict, any kind of conflict, or being targeted by some specific people. Maybe not the government, but I guess some gangs could work too. And this is just a definition, and they are temporarily staying in another country for aid and just to stay there until the conflict softens up in their home country so that they can return. Next word, migrants. Now, migrants are people who are moving to another country permanently. Also, some people actually choose to come back for visits and stuff. Some people just come back and actually said that they were refugees. Migrants stay in the country that they flee to, and they do this because they need new opportunities and they need to escape poverty, or they just want to move to a new country when tensions are rising between their country and another country. This is also a good way to escape conflict before conflict even starts, so this is probably a nice choice too. Some refugees actually turn into migrators because they just want to stay in their country, but if the situation looks too bleak for too long, they may stay in their home country, in their foster country for a while, and eventually probably stay there and help the force. And by that I don't mean Star Wars. And then we get into asylum seekers. They're more like a mixture of migrators and refugees, but they're still awaiting for the status. In the meantime, they're probably in some camps that are prison-like. I guess they do look a bit like concentration camps. Also, they are not. They are far way better than concentration camps that the Nazis put up, and that's also nice too. However, asylum seekers usually get rejected from the country for a while because usually they come at a very bad time. And these guys are all innocent. Just saying. Now let's start a big debate between the affirmative position saying that refugees should be given aid instead of being allowed in, and the negative position who says that refugees, no matter who they are, should be allowed in. Now, according to the affirmative position, refugees should be given aid because, well, if they're allowed in, they might actually overpopulate the whole country, which is a bad thing, and we'll find out why. And no overpopulation, just like inflation, is a terrible thing to do, just like printing too much money. This is also a better alternative, and this is actually giving people aid instead of letting them in is a better opportunity if you can't afford more people into your country. This will also use up less resources because the UN, as long as the camps are owned by the UN, I guess, will more likely intervene in these situations. And if they are still not controlled by the UN, they'll still come on regular checks. And if they find out that, well, the camp is not up to standards, despite lower their UN status and their voice in the United Nations, which is something that all countries do not want. And for the negative position, they actually say that these people are still in danger. Like, the refugees are still in danger. Just being in their country or being in another place that's probably vulnerable right now. They need to be evacuated ASAP. As long as they're not in the vulnerable zone, I guess there could be done. But then unvulnerable zones actually turn into vulnerable zones later on because it turns out people keep moving. So you have to keep moving camps. Seeing as these people are still in danger, you need to move them ASAP to another country as fast as possible. And sometimes a nearby country isn't the best option. Sometimes the best option is actually to a faraway place where conflict will probably not spread to. Also, the refugees themselves would probably feel more safer in a country that, well, that has without war and has nothing to do with the war and is neutral. This will also make them feel more safe, and this will actually make them more safe too, as long as these guys they're running from don't actually start chasing them, which some people actually did. So this plan sometimes fails. But then again, in my opinion, now it's my opinion time. I actually don't think either side won. To be honest, I think that refugees should be allowed in the countries as long as the circumstances match and is just good for a refugee right now. It's like no overpopulation, just enough extra resources for some extra people to join in. And that's actually a nice idea too. But however, if there's still too many people in there, then I guess giving them a part of their resources would just be nice too. I guess that's better than nothing, I guess. As long as the people who are sending to actually approves and grabs it all. So, who do you think won? In my opinion, neither did. That's already a fact. And I stated my reasons. So tell me your reasons of your opinion in the comments below. And look out for a new poll message in the community tabs on my channel page. So, see you guys soon. This video was based on that book, Refugees, Critical World Issues. You can go read the book to find out more information, and some of the information I got, the debate topic is actually the idea I got is from this book. So, hopefully, you guys will find this interesting. And, yeah. I dedicate this video to all the refugees out there, and hopefully, you guys will survive. Night out. Peace.